2 balls of fluff. A Shinso birthday special. It had been raining on and off for the last few days, but today it was sunny, and aside from a light drizzle at the beginning of the day, it was nice and hot. Shinso was in his dorm, focusing on nothing but homework. He had turned off his phone and refused to get distracted. He tapped his pencil on the desk as he stared at the history question, thinking over in his head about what the answer could be. After a few minutes, he wrote something down and then moved on. He was already on question 10 by the time he heard a loud crack on his glass balcony door. He looked up and saw a large crack on his glass sliding door. He let out the biggest sigh and got up from his seat. He walked over and opened the door as he placed both hands on the railing of his balcony and looked down at whoever had thrown that damn rock. He wasn't surprised in the slightest to see a curly-haired blonde, hands on her hips, looking up at him with a cheeky smile. "Hey, Toshi!" she yelled up at him, extending the hey a little. Shinso leaned on the balcony and glared at her. "You made a crack in my window," he yelled back down at her. She just gave him her usual, "Oh, I did that?" face, and then clapped her hands. "Yo, Hitoshi, can you meet me downstairs?" she yelled again. He rolled his eyes. "I'm trying to study, Gambaru," he responded. She nodded, but didn't break the fierce eye contact they were both giving each other. Shinso sighed after a minute of her silently staring him down. "Fine, I'm coming down," he yelled at her. Shori happily skipped up to the door of the 1C dorms and met Shinso inside. He crossed his arms and looked up at her ever so slightly. Shori was only a few inches taller than him. She was 6'2", while he was 5'9", and this wouldn't usually bother him if it weren't for the fact that she insisted on commenting constantly on the height difference. He shook his head and sighed. "What do you want?" "Shh! Sit down!" She didn't really give him a choice, because she pushed him down onto the couch. Bewildered, he tried to get up, but she stopped him by placing her hand on his head and forcing him to stay seated. He didn't try to fight her, though. Instead, he complied, knowing full well that arguing with Shori was a death sentence. She then walked away and went back outside, and that's when Kanaku popped up next to his head as she leaned against the couch. Hi?" he questioned, giving her a suspicious look. He wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she had just come out of her dorm because of the yelling. She was one floor below him after all, and her hearing was superb. She didn't say anything, and just giggled. Okay, so her and Shori were in cahoots. He looked around the 1C dorm to see if he could spot the octopus-haired shoe anywhere, but no, nothing. Come to think of it, Shori had completely gone out of his line of vision at this point. Kanaku sat down next to him and looked at him with a small smile. "You seem on edge," she laughed softly. Shinso bristled. "Yeah, I don't have a clue what you're all up to," he stated. She giggled that high-pitched girl giggle, and that just made him even more suspicious. "Hitoshi, do you remember what day it is today?" she questioned innocently. Now he was really confused. "No, should I?" He was plain worried that he had forgotten something extremely important now, and was failing as a friend. This wouldn't be the first time, however. When he had first admitted that these 3 girls were his friends, it wasn't like he had immediately started acting friendly with them. He had made Kanaku cry before he ever got the whole being a good friend roll down. "Oh goodness," Kanaku breathed before taking one of his hands and patting it. "Calm down. You didn't do anything wrong," she said sweetly. His brows were knit together tightly. He was so worried that he had forgotten something important, and couldn't bear the thought of making any of them upset. "You're sure?" he asked softly, looking into her bright orange eyes. In turn, she nodded. "Calm down, Hitoshi. Goodness, I knew you would be anxious, but I didn't think it would be this bad." Shinso shifted in his seat. He had always hated surprises, so the fact that his overachieving friends were definitely planning something was not helping his anxiety. That's when Anako made herself known as she burst through the 1C dorm doors, with a brown cardboard box in her hands, with Shori following behind her. Anako put the box down next to Shinso's feet and gave him a big smile. "Alright, open it up!" Shinso looked down at the box with a very suspicious expression, and then, meow, came from the box, and Shinso's eyes widened. He looked up at the two girls standing in front of him, and then at Kaneko beside him. "You didn't," he said, genuinely bewildered. The girls just smiled at each other as he got onto his knees and started to open the box. He sucked in a sharp breath when he saw fluffy orange, black and white fur, all along with bright green eyes staring back up at him. It was a cat, but not just any cat. His favorite type of cat, a calico. He picked up the little fur ball and just stared at it in disbelief. He then saw the collar around the kitten's neck and the little note attached to it. He carefully took the note out from the collar and opened it. "Happy birthday, Hitoshi! We all pitched in to get you this ball of fluff. We know you don't like celebrating your birthday, but we still wanted to get you something. We hope you like him. And no, we're not telling you how much it costs between the three of us. Love, the girls." Shinso dropped the letter in the box and just held his face in his hands. His cheeks were burning from how red they were. Of course these three would do something like this, but he wasn't complaining. "How did you know?" was all he could get out as he looked up at them a bit bashfully. Shori joined him on the ground and put her hand on his shoulder. "Well, you're always talking about how much you wanted a cat when you were little, so..." She smiled as she trailed off. Kaneko moved off the couch next to his side before wrapping both her arms around his right arm. "You gushed to me a lot about how amazing calicos are," she said brightly, resting her cheek on his shoulder. Anako kneeled down in front of him and ruffled up his hair. "And you have proven yourself to be worthy of a pet more than once," she added. Shinso was a blushing mess, as well as an emotional one. He was currently hiding the happy tears gathering in his eyes. All he could do was extend his left hand and give them a thumbs up, but he did manage to squeak out a small, "Thank you." The girls gave him some space. Kaneko grabbed the cat and handed it to Shinso, as he unfurled from his human ball. He wrapped his arms around the kitten and started to pet it. The little calico made soft mews as Shinso carefully and gently ran his fingertips over the little creature's fur. "He's so pretty," he breathed. Kaneko smiled at him. He really did look happy. Then he placed the kitten on his lap and wrapped his arms around the girls next to him. Anako had moved to sit next to Kaneko, and he held them tight. The girls hugged him back. "Happy birthday, Hitoshi," they all said in unison. "You three are insane," he said. He said that, but the biggest smile was on his face, and happy tears were falling down his cheeks. Shinso had to admit, this was the happiest he had been on his birthday in a long, long time.